Hey everyone, welcome back to another TOA live stream series recording. This one is dealing with a race condition that we had in the application. So if you've been following along, you've seen me mention this for a couple weeks now. But basically, if you have multiple tasks in your to-do column and you try to mark multiple done really quickly, the snack bar that shows up at the bottom allowing you to undo them, the whole thing gets confused and the tasks aren't marked as completed properly. So in this stream, we dig into why that race condition is happening and how we go about fixing it. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Um, Got myself some new blue light, not new, but my first pair of blue light glasses this week. And I can already feel like a little less strain on the eyes while I'm working and stuff. It's been great. So maybe not the best for streaming because I can see how everything is glaring back at y'all and that might be super distracting, but we're gonna try it out. And yeah, so what are we working on today? We're coming back to oh, you know what? I should shill for my blog really quick. Exclamation point blog in the chat if you don't follow androidessence.com. But I published my first blog post in over a year this week, where I gave some thoughts I had around interface naming conventions. This spurred from a Twitter conversation that I ended up in, and I was like, you know what, I actually have a lot of thoughts for this idea, so I kind of want to write them all down. And basically, the whole point of the conversation is like, traditionally, you sometimes see like conventions like this around interfaces where you have like, yeah, they're just blue light glasses for staring at screens all day, trying to protect my eyesight, which has been good so far. But traditionally, you see this like convention where you have like a book repository and then the implementation class just appends this impl suffix at the end. And this, I think, stems from a time before we had IDEs, and the whole point was to sort of see a clear separation between the interface and the implementation when you were using pure text editors or just looking at like a file structure, for example. But that brings up a lot of problems in that, like, it kind of assumes you only have one implementation per interface, or, like, it doesn't provide any, like, additional information about, you know, what that implementation does. So then I talk about some alternatives where, like, y'all have seen me do this, where I like naming them with the data source. So you could have, like, Google Books book repository, or Open Library book repository, and New York Times book repository. You can name based on situation, like prod, some interface name, or sometimes even responsibility, like we see offline first book repository. And I talk about some other stuff, but I thought that was a fun conversation. I'll drop it in chat again if you're new, or just exclamation point blog if you want to find that and other great posts that I've posted throughout the years. I was actually looking at the date, so we just passed 7 years that I've had this blog, which is absolutely insane. And this logo was made 7 years ago when the blog started, and I have kept this logo ever since. I have never bothered to update or modernize it. It's a little sentimental. Someone made it using GIMP, and I was like, you know what? It's cool. We're gonna keep that logo. Do I have anything else to shill? Not really, but I have uploaded a couple stream recordings to the YouTube channel, and I have more coming this Monday, and I'm going to put some stuff together, and I'm basically going to have every Monday for a while of stream recordings, and I think I'm going to keep that, and when I end up making other YouTube videos, I'll post it on a different day of the week, maybe Wednesdays. I love using default interface when implementing an interface that's going to be one implementation. Yeah, I've seen people bring up the default convention a couple times. I think it's very similar as this idea of like saying like prod interface name uh, is like, you know, if you have something that's only ever used in the production of your app, you would just call it prod or default. One of the reasons, this is just personal opinion, as is this entire article, yes, blue light glasses. I should put this in the title, or I'm going to get asked about it all night. One of the, like, I mean, this entire, hold on, I'm putting it in here. Not that it's going to stop people from commenting on it, but this entire article is obviously personal opinion, right? Name things what you want. But one of my opinions on what started to sell me on this idea of if you only have one implementation of using this like prod prefix is that it keeps it with the situation and then kind of sets you up for like if you ever introduce a non-default, like you would name it after that situation, right? So if you have a default, but then one day you're like, well, I need a debug Crashlytics initializer. If you have like default Crashlytics initializer and debug Crashlytics initializer, I feel like those don't mesh the same way as like prod versus debug or prod versus test. Like, that's one of the issues I have with default. Now, is it semantic and like totally irrelevant of the conversation? Probably. But it's just something I've been thinking about as I wrote this. But like, if I ever was like reviewing code and someone called their class default something or other, like it wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't reject the pull request. But just in talking out loud about the semantics, it's one benefit I thought of this like prod prefix. So it's Wednesday. I want to revisit the task management app again. And specifically, I want to work through, hey Matt, I want to work through a bug that we found recently, which is that, so you know this app, y'all may know, this app has like this snack bar. When you accomplish something, you can undo it. And, Matt showed up at the perfect time. It's another Wednesday, which means we have to go through our list and watch all the Cars movies again, because everyone knows I frequently watch Cars 2. And so I had to put that back on my to-do list again. But we have this sort of race condition as a result of that snack bar. It's like if I mark multiple tasks as done, and then I sort of wait at this snack bar, we end up in a weird state where only one of the tasks actually gets marked as completed. And it was whichever one I hit first, it looks like. So that's the bug, right? And we could talk through sort of how this is working in code, which I think is what we should do first. And then from there, we could talk about how we might change things to fix the bug. So why don't we, as I'm going to try my best to isolate those two ideas, because I already have thoughts on how I would fix this, but I'm going to walk through just when we mark a task as done, what happens to it. And then once we finish that explanation and workaround, or walk through, we can then talk about like, okay, well, why doesn't this scale up to the second or third thing if I want to mark multiple things as done really quick? So let's start with the task list content, I think. And so this is the composable function that renders everything on the task list screen, and it actually consumes this on done clicked callback with a task that is marked as done. So if we go to where that's used, which is in this screen composable, when that happens, we call this method our view model, which is basically our state container here. So let's go into that. So here's what happens. So actually, let's read these docs, see if these help us, because occasionally they do. When the Done button is clicked, we will render an alert message that states a task has been accomplished, but it provides an undo button to revert this action. We show a temporary state that indicates the task is done, but we don't actually commit anything to the task repository until the message is dismissed. So, hopefully that's clear. Let me know if I can walk through that again. So we create this alert message, which has got some message that says task accomplished. It's got an undo action. When that action is clicked, wait, is this right? On action clicked, view state.update, we mark the task as complete, we remove it from incompleted tasks. Wait, why is this a bug? Why are we marking the task as complete? So this is This is the undo action, right? So we can see we have our list of incompleted tasks and we're adding it to those and we're removing it from the completed tasks. So this is when we're in the temporary state where the task is marked as completed. I think this is actually supposed to be false. Oh no, I know why. I know why. In order to, we can do this a different way. I think it's because of this line right here. Because we've got a task and we're trying to remove it from our list of completed tasks. And so the way to do that is to make sure the equality matches. But really, what I should have done is instead of removing the task by an equality check, we should just filter by the ID. That would be the safer way to do it, is say, like, okay, we've got this task, let's add it to our incomplete task list. Um, yes, and that makes sense why this is different. Um, so I really should put this here and explain what's happening here. So, however, since we're trying to match by equality, we need to take the task and act as if it's complete. So that's what's happening there. But then I get an updated list of each one, and then I copy my view state with a null alert message. So this is what happens when we click undo. And then when it's dismissed, that's when we do two viewModelScope.launch calls. What the hell is this project? Why does anyone bother to listen to me? What am I doing? Um, we do one viewModelScope.launch, and then we update the task, and then we update it in our task repository. I should put this in the same scope here. Oh, is that why? That still feels weird. Um, okay, but then we take the task as completed, we update it in our task repository, and then we remove any alert message from our view state. That walkthrough might have sounded kind of confusing, but so that's what happens when these actions are clicked. But then also, so after we create this alert message, we need to update our view state where we pretend the task is complete. We update our lists accordingly, and then we update our view state. But the big thing here is we're setting an alert message. So, have a good dinner, Thaddeus. Am I interested in AI and machine learning? Kind of, but not as a developer. Like, I don't really write any stuff like that myself, personally. I do find it fascinating, but it's not something I work on as a developer. So, that long winded explanation looked kind of confusing, and this is because I'm going through code that I haven't written in well over 6 months, 7, 8 months now. But to summarize it really quick is when we mark a task as done, we create this snack bar entity that on dismiss or on click will either complete a task or mark it as done or mark it as or like undo that action. But our view state, this is the big thing, our view state can only hold one alert message at a time. So what happens here is like you read the notification. Did I trick you? Did I scare you? I haven't done my Duolingo yet today either, so my notification should be a reminder for myself as well. But the problem here is that our view state can only hold one alert message at a time. So if I try to mark two tasks as complete, then like what happens is they overwrite each other. And I don't know how to explain exactly what order this happens in. We could add some logging if we want to see it. That would be cool. But basically, the issue is we're going to need to have a queue of alert messages. Um, and yeah, that's basically it. And then also, I might change this to the short duration so it happens a little faster. But so why don't we? I actually really like this idea. Why don't we add some logging so we can see what happens in this race condition? So let's put a note here, and we'll say done button clicked for task dot description. So we're going to do that when the done button is clicked. And then what we'll do here, we're going to say showing or setting alert message. And then, so on action clicked, we're going to put a note here that's going to say undoing task completion. And then on dismissed, we're going to say um, submitting task completion. So those are the logs that we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our logcat and we're going to filter for that tag. And I'm going to run this. And what we're going to do is we've got cars 2 and cars 3 in the list. So the way we're going to test this is we're going to mark cars 2 as done and then cars 3. Then we're going to go at our logs and see what actually happened with our view state. Sound good? All right. I'm going to wait until this is like done with everything. Okay, so cars 3 was not marked as actually done. So let's look at our logcat and see what actually happened here. So the done button was clicked for cars 2 and the alert message was set. And then the done button was clicked for cars 3 and then we were setting an alert message for cars 3. But then we submit the task for cars 2 and nothing else happened. Okay, nothing else happened here. So why not? Well, I want to look at task list screen really quick. Or content. So we've got this snack bar, and we have this check. Okay, if the alert message is not null, then we'll launch the snack bar. And that's fine. And then when we know that it's been shown, we clear it from our view state. So what I'm thinking here is like the quickest way to do this. So a lot of the structure that we just looked at, to take a step back, comes from the recent updates to the Android architecture guidelines, in which they show us sort of state management for event handling. So let me see if I can find this. Actually, UI events. Here we go. I'm gonna drop this in chat for everybody. And so we followed this whole thing but what's kind of interesting about this is, where do they show it? In their docs, they do the same flow, but they actually have a queue of messages. Is it not here? Is it stakeholders in UI state? Oh, am I going crazy? Am I having a Mandela effect? I swear there was a sample for this in their docs, but basically what they did is instead of having a singular alert message in our UI state, we would have a list of messages. And what we would do is the UI would show one message at a time. And when a message is shown, instead of like setting the value to null, right, we would just remove the first item in the list. Say, hey, this one was shown. So that's what I think we need to get to, is ultimately what I believe will fix this problem. So what we would see in practice is when I undo multiple tasks at a time, I would sort of see I don't think we can show multiple snack bars. We could show multiple snack bars in succession. Um, well, so now this is where I would open it up to chat because we've explained the bug, right? But really, the solution here is kind of up to us as developers. We can do this a couple different ways. So my knee-jerk reaction was, well, we could just show multiple snack bars in succession. Um, or we've got other things like one complicated thing is we could like consider all of them as one batch completion and the undo button undoes the whole batch. Or if I undo task, or if I complete task A and complete task B really quickly, that task A is just done. I assume I don't want to undo it. I don't love that. I kind of like this idea of we'll just show snack bars sort of in succession um, for you. And we would change the stack bar text to instead of just saying like task accomplished, we would give like the task name accomplished. That's kind of what I'm going for. So if anyone feels differently, let me know. But I think that's the solution I'd like to build here. So the way I'm going to do that is by we're going to start by keeping this existing behavior. Um, ooh, do we want to do test-driven development here? Be kind of cool. Um, let's. Is that already done? But let me look at task. Hold on. Let me look at the task list screen test really quick. We don't have. Um, hmm. I'm wondering if we can write a test around this now and then modify that test to support multiple items, but that might be complicated. Maybe we'll revisit that later. So, the way I want to start this is by sort of keeping the same behavior, but resetting up the structure to support uh, what we want to do, right? So we would change this to alert messages, which would be list alert message, and we just have an empty list. And also, we're going to need a way to. Oh, hey, we do have an ID on our alert message. Beautiful. So, with that, let's. Okay, so let's start there and let's see what compiles now. So here, okay, so this is where it gets tricky. So what we would do then is say alert messages to use will be it.alert messages filter and we'll say alert message.id is not equal to oh, I don't have the answer to this here. Oh, maybe it's not that complicated. maybe I don't need maybe I don't need to do anything with alert messages in this moment after all. Um, and I think the same thing might be true here. Um, Here, when we update the task in our repository, that should just trigger a flow that automatically updates the UI. But here is where this does matter. Alert messages would be sort of the current alert messages plus the new alert message. And then we'll look down here on task rescheduled. Again, we will just add a new alert message onto the existing list. Um, we'll close that. We don't need this one either. So the reason I'm getting rid of all those lines where we're marking the task, the alert messages and all, the reason I'm getting rid of those is because in the UI portion, when we show the alert message, we should automatically be triggering, hey, the alert message has been shown. And once that happens, it will get removed from our view state automatically. So we don't need to clear it in all of these specific moments. Um, but here is where it will matter. So here we're going to change this, where we're going to take in the alert message ID. And now we're going to say new alert messages will be the existing ones, filter out um, where alert message dot ID is not equal to ID. And then alert messages equals new alert messages. And then we can rename this to like shown ID just to be clear. Okay. This will probably fail, but let's run this and let's see what else fails here. Actually, this is most certainly going to fail, which gives me an excuse to do this. Alright, so this just failed because we have more screens that need to be updated, which is totally fine. Um, so what we'll do for the stack bar... Yes, this is the solution that Google sort of officially recommends. So can we pass? Yes, we can. So for alert message, we're going to do view state dot alert messages dot get or first or null. And on alert message shown, this will take in a long for the alert message ID. So we just have to tweak this here. And so what we'll do is we'll have this shown call always made um, I think that should be fine. What else is failing here? Nope, that looks to be fixed now. So let's run this. Okay, that looks good to start. I forgot one thing I wanted to do, which is the place where we generate this alert message. Um, uh, okay, let me take a step back. So we've got this task accomplished string, and to me, this should have like That's how you do it? I think so. Where we put in like the task name in quotes. I think we don't actually need the index here because there's just one. Where we'll put like task cars 2 accomplished. Oh no, did the stream die? Are we back? Tell me if you can hear me. I got an OBS disconnected, but then I got another OBS reconnected. And it looks like in Stream Manager that we're good again. Stream Manager looks good, so I'm gonna go back. I don't know where this disconnection happened, so let me go over what I was doing again. Right now, our snack bar just says the words task accomplished. I would like it to say like task Cars 2 accomplished. So I feel really good about watching Cars 2 yet again. And so that's what we are doing by showing this little like quotes and then some sort of string placeholder here. So with that, we need a way to actually pass these arguments into our resource text. So I think what we can do is, I think we do vararg. I think we can make it any. How do you do? Okay, you can't do varargs in a data class. So Um, the stream did die for a moment. Okay, as long as I'm back now and y'all can see me again. Um, so with this UI text idea, I'm not sure how best to pass in the args. I mean, I think we could do it inside these functions where we could have any, and then in a resource text we pass args. And so I think we could do the same thing here inside our composable helper. And let's see if this works. So then in our task list view model, oh, but it's going to be um hmm. Sorry, just struggling to figure out how to connect these because so it made sense to put the args on these get string calls, except that doesn't really work with how the UI text is set up. Like I create the message here, I want to pass it with like the task.description like this. So I wonder if we did something like this, where we pass in a list of arguments. So back this up. And our resource text consumes the value, but then also has an empty list of arguments. And we can do this dot args. And that just works. This feels suspicious. There's no way it's that simple, but we'll find out. Usually you have to include some sort of spread operator or something weird for Kotlin to allow you to pass args like that. But if I'm wrong, when we click this done button, we should see at the bottom, we should see task cars 3 accomplished. Ah, look at that. I didn't get to undo it in time. But that actually did. I see why this is wrong because if you saw briefly there, let me show you. If you saw briefly here, we get brackets around the test word. And that's because it's taking our entire list of arguments and it's passing the list as the one argument. So we do need the spread operator here. I think we could do like two typed array. Let me Google this to make sure I'm sure. Convert list to var args. Can I explain the args? Yeah. Give me one sec to. Um, so let's look at this function, and let's look at the Java version for a sort of quick explanation. So in Java, you could write a function that would have a parameter like this, where you would have the type name followed by these three dots. And basically, that's a way in Java to say, I'm going to pass 0 to infinite number of arguments that are of type object. And so what that means is like get string, integer, get string 0 is valid, get string 0 ABC blah blah is valid, get string true 0 true, all of these things, and you can even do more than you want. Like all of these are sort of valid syntax in a Java world. And so it's just saying like a string resource can have any number of arguments passed into it that get replaced inside the string resource. So in our example here, this %s is saying I'm expecting one string argument, and I'm going to put that string right here where this placeholder is. Hi, welcome in, Eshin. And so in Kotlin, the way that, words. So when we're calling this function, this getString function, which can then consume the string resource ID and then any number of arguments, that arguments need to be passed as like an array in order for it to basically be set up. So if I pass in, think of a list as an object, right? If I just pass in the list, then I'm getting the whole list as one argument. When what I want is each of those items in the list to be a separate argument. So I think the way to do that is we convert it to like a typed array, and then we add this little star, which makes it like a spread operator. And basically this syntax, while it looks confusing, this is what's doing that job of saying I have a list of items, but convert them into one argument per item in the list. It's what I think will happen, which then in our UI, instead of seeing brackets around the word test, we just see the word test. I should set the length back to long on this alert message while we're testing. I'm learning Swift for a startup idea I have, loving the journey so far. I'm glad you're having a great time. We build Android apps here in Kotlin, but I'm super supportive of anyone who wants to be a mobile dev. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I've also been learning Swift. I almost came on and did an iOS stream today, but I'll probably do a separate one. I want to build an iPad app for my partner, and so I've been learning Swift and iOS, and it's been going well. It means I hope that was a great explanation. So yeah, this looks like it did work, which is great. So I'm going to commit this code as it is really quick, and we'll come back to it. But yeah, I'm trying to build an iPad app, and haven't gotten very far yet, but converting alert message flow to use a list of alert messages. Ashton, thank you for the follow. Do they have any correlation in terms of programming? In practice, not often. There are like tools that allow you to share code both from like a full app standpoint or even partially share code. But in general, the two native environments are separate. For what it's worth, like conceptually, they're not terribly different. Because they're still mobile platforms, right? So a lot of the generic concepts you deal with, like how do I put a bunch of views on the screen and place and interact with them, and how do I deal with like application life cycles and offline storage? Like, yes, the implementation details are different, but we solve a lot of the same problems. And that when I like meet with my iOS counterparts at work, I can explain the problems I'm running into, and they can usually help me come up with an answer, from a purely conceptual point of view. And then if you've been learning Swift, like you'd probably find that like Kotlin and Swift semantically are very similar programming languages. Like I can't necessarily write Swift because I don't understand all the nuances, but if I'm asked to read it and then say, hey, what does this Swift file do? Like usually I can do that, and vice versa. So like that helps, but it's not, like I said, it's not a direct correlation, unfortunately. Yeah, this is Detect yelling at me about that spread operator, but we need it here, so we're going to remove it. Nice resume, by the way. Oh no, where's my resume? I haven't updated that in months. Um, Suppressing spread operator. Uh, okay, so, but now we still have the issue of the race condition. Or do we? So, I think because we changed this to use a list of alert messages, and when an alert message is shown, we're removing it from the list with that ID, I'm kind of tempted to say this will work. That I can mark both of these tasks as done. I'll see multiple snack bars appear, but when they've both been dismissed, both tasks will still be marked as done. So let's run a prediction. Let's see what chat thinks. We'll run a quick prediction. We're gonna say, will the multitask completion based condition be fixed? Or wait, completion race condition. Y'all are gonna get to vote yes or no on whether or not we fix this. I'm gonna give y'all 1 minute, so get your votes in quick. This, all right, 1 minute to get your votes in. Did we complete the complete task race condition? And so, just to clarify, what I mean by that is, if I mark test is done and more testing is done, will we see two snack bars? Will both tasks remain marked as completed at the end of this flow? Previously, you saw if we marked them both as done, only one of them actually got marked as completed, and like we had that race condition by doing them both really quick. So, did we fix it in the work that we've done so far just by moving them into an alert dialog or into a list of alert messages? I think the answer might be yes, but I know how programming goes, so we're gonna find out. Give you all a chance to earn some channel points. I see the predictions going in. 7 more seconds. Get them in quick. Not a long prediction. Usually I wait a little longer when I'm doing my other stuff, but all right. A couple of you got votes in. So I'm going to mark test is done. More testing is done. We see test at the bottom. And then after, this is a long duration, so we're going to have to wait a second. It didn't work. Oh, all right. Choose prediction outcome. No. The no's had less votes. And we're sad about this. We're sad it didn't work, even though the no's got some extra channel points. Alright. Let's see if we still had the logcat code to sort of see what happened here. Oh wait, why did this okay, no, that was earlier. So done was clicked, we set the alert message, and then done button clicked on more testing, we add an alert message. Submitting task completion for test. Hmm. Oh, I left the rain going. Whoops. Um, am I sure the second one got triggered? I am because we could see done button clicked for both of these. Um, I don't either, so we're gonna have to keep digging. Um, so what happens is they both get. Oh, wait. Hold on. What? Um, yeah, sorry, I left the rain on too long. Um, I just came back to the screen and then it was done. Okay, so I think it remained in the list, yeah. So also, hold on. I'm gonna close some things on my PC because it's starting to lag, and I'm worried that OBS is gonna crash again. Oh, but it's also my MacBook that is giving me the beach ball. What is going on here? Android Y? Android Studio Y? Do I need to force quit you? Um, you're right, it remained in the list. So that's interesting. Um, Make Attack, thank you for the follow. Alright, well, we're gonna have to force close Android Studio. Um, so, Trax, I think what we can do here is maybe we need to reconsider when this shown message shown call happens, if that makes sense. Um, so right now, we call on alert message shown here, but maybe we should do it um, like when it's either dismissed or when an action happens. Because when we call shown, that should re-trigger the UI. So let's try that out. Gotta wait for it to build again. Okay, so let's try this again. We're going to do the Y one first and then blah. So we see the Y thing down here. We wait. It should be dismissed, which should then say, hey, the other one is being shown. No, it still doesn't happen. Hmm. Well, I can think of an even easier and cheaper solution to this whole problem in the first place is saying when you mark one task as done, you can't do it again until that snack bar disappears. That would be the easiest way to fix the race condition, is preventing the second input in the first place. which sounds funny and sounds like a hack, but like, does that make sense? If we used a short duration snack bar, is it that bad to say, like, hey, you have to wait 3 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds between marking your tasks as done? Like, if I'm using this in reality, like, well, it might be possible that at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, done, 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 done. And I don't want to sit through that, but, hmm. Okay, so where did this. Now I want to find. Now that we mentioned it, then where is. I swear this page, when it first came out, had a sample of showing a collection of snack bar messages. And did theirs not work and did they just walk back the blogs? Yeah, it would be frustrating if you want to mark multiple tasks as done at the end. We are pros, we don't need cheap solutions. Well, I can't make the expensive solution work. I'm trying my best. Um, we're so close, but I think it's just. Do I not want snack bar host state? Do I want the launched effect key to be like. Let's add another log real quick here. Um, add another thing here for when we show the message. I want to see what happens here. And I'm going to add this. Um, where the snack bar component called blah blah. Okay, so I'm going to add numbered things again because that was actually easier to have. Yes, it just happened again that when I navigate away and back into the screen, it gets rendered correctly. So, okay, so let's run this and let's look at the logs again. So I've got cars 1 and 2 in the list again, and I'm gonna hit those in order, and we're gonna look at the logs again now. We don't change the stack bar state, which is why I added those 2 additional logs, because I feel like those might tell us something. Okay, so the launched effect only happens for cars 1, and the snack bar gets called again, but then launched effect will cancel and relaunch if the snack bar state changes. So we're saying that. So it looks like. So check this out. Just to clarify this. So when we submit the task, the component is called again for cars 2, but it's not shown. So maybe we do need to. But what do I do with the state? Like, I don't know how to like, can I clear it? Is this valid? No, I can't do that. Is it already inside a coroutine? I wrote this code ages ago, so, huh. Hi, Code Matrix. Um, hmm. I guess now that I think about it, then this can be pulled back out to the front here. Because I want that to happen anytime there's a result. So that still checks out. Um, but I wonder if we can pass a different key to the launched effect. Like, what if the launched effect was based on uh, alert message.id? Would that do it? Let's find out. Um, I'm going to add cars1 back into here. So we're going to do 1, 2, cars1 at the bottom. Okay, we're actually kind of close. We did see, so we fixed that one issue and that we got the repeated snack bars. But after the one finished, the list wasn't perfect. It like after one finished, the list reset. So here's where I'm going to look at that. Look next. Um, why did we ever write that coroutine skip? I don't remember. I feel like we followed the old Google Docs. They were probably wrong at the time. Who knows? Where am I going? I'm going into here. I'm dismissed. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Ah, I see. I see. Okay. So on dismissed gets triggered sort of automatically when the duration of the snack bar is over, right? So this ends and we say, okay, this task we are now ready to mark it as complete. So we mark it as complete and then we update the task repository. Now what this is going to do is this is going to update a local SQLite database. And then we're going to see, hey, the database has changed, so we need to requery it. And we're going to update the UI with the new emission from the database. Now, remember what I explained earlier is that this hack that we're doing is we're locally saying this task is done. We're not submitting it to the database until the snack bar actually completes. So what happens is like the database still thinks the task is incomplete. So while all this snack bar logic is happening, a new database request happens, which says, hey, cars 2 is incomplete, so I'm going to throw it back at the top of the screen. When like, so now we've got this issue where like the database state and our sort of local state that we're defining are out of sync with each other. And this is probably my fault because now that I've said that out loud, we're kind of breaking this whole source of truth idea of having like a single source of truth for the state of the screen, which is definitely a fair way to look at it. So maybe what we should consider, and I don't remember why we. So maybe what we can consider. Okay, so there's an alternative to the way we do it now, which is when we mark a task as complete, we can actually mark it as complete in the database. And if the user hits undo, then we undo that action and we say, hey, actually, just kidding, this task is not completed. And I believe one thing that was discussed at the time about why that wasn't the best idea is because imagine our repository is actually like a remote data source. And I don't want to make a network request until I'm certain that I have to. Right? And so that felt valid, but. And it still does feel valid. Like, I don't want to have to make a data layer request until it's necessary, but now I'm feeling like, well, it would sure clean up a lot of code if I just did. If I just like, hey, when the done button is clicked, we're gonna mark it as we're gonna mark it as done, but we'll show the snack bar if they hit undo. We just revert that database action. And I guess this could potentially be an issue if we had a network request, but like our app doesn't do that. So I'm kind of inclined to just be like, you know what, why don't we just implement that cheaper, quicker solution? Um, that's kind of where I'm feeling at after chasing down this little bug all day. So let's let's start fresh and let's review what that idea would look like. It would clean up a lot of code, honestly. So so what it would do is basically when an action is clicked, I'm gonna put this in here. But basically, we would say so if we assume we're actually storing it in the database, right? Then here we would do task as incomplete would be task.copy complete equals completed equals false. And then we would do something like view model scope dot launch update task as incomplete. And that's all we would do in this moment, right? And when it's dismissed, then I guess we would actually do nothing. We're assuming database was already, or data source, whatever, was already updated as if the task was complete. Um, and so here's where we do a bunch of crazy stuff, but here we'll just do task as complete. And actually, so what we could do here, so a couple things. So, oh my god. Uh, we're going to say task is complete. Um, and then task repository dot update task. And then we do still want to update our view state with the new alert message. Okay, I kind of want to clean up this function. Let's clean up this function to describe what's actually happening. So we're going to say get undo alert message for task. And then here we're going to say mark task as complete. And then what this function is doing is add alert message to state. So we can look at those functions individually, but here's what happens now. There is no online database. The idea is that maybe one day there would be, but right now, technically, no. And in reality, probably not. So I think it's fine to consider that for now. So now this is what happens when we click the done button. We get an alert message, we mark the task as complete, and then we add the alert message to our state. And we don't necessarily have to do it in this order. We could mark task as complete first. Um, but I think that would effectively fix everything. So let's find out. Okay, so all right, so let's try it. So cars 1 done, cars 2 done. We see cars 1 accomplished. And then when the duration of this is done, we should see cars 2 accomplished. If I undo this, boom, cars 2 is back. But we fixed the race condition. We can mark multiple tasks as done. We'll see the subsequent alert dialogues, and everyone's happy. All right, that only took us an hour. Not bad. That's about the time I would expect in a real world to fix a race condition. Uh, Committing to DB before showing alert dialog. We did it. Let's go. All right, then we'll make the pull request. We'll look at some stuff. Maybe we can look into testing this, which would definitely be, I think, a non trivial test, but still a good one to consider looking at. Um, Fixing race condition, marking multiple tasks as complete. Um, we commit to DB right away and also tweak our state to support a queue of alert messages, which are shown one at a time. Manual testing, maybe UI tests. Um, I'm going to skip the screen recording for now. All right, so there's a couple of things that I want to look at here. That's fine. I want to get rid of my logs. Um, that's all cool. I think that was the only thing I wanted to needed to update. Let's update our stream history really quick. Okay, I did put that there. Um, Stream 33. Uh, Fixing race conditions. Fixed a race condition that um, happened when trying to mark multiple tasks as completed. I don't think I ever added these at the top. I think I'm a little behind on my long list at the top. Yeah, let's add these in really quick. What was stream 32? Uh, Also, is it June Gamer? Jun Gamer? If you're still here, I don't know if you were here last time, but we did do the migration to move off of the basic result class into the self-written result class into the Kotlin result class. That was fun. Okay, updating stream history. So let's have an attempt at writing some UI tests for this. We'll have an attempt. To do that, I'm going to bring this back over here. Close all these. Task list screen test. Okay, um, so let's write one that says, hmm, okay, let's do, let's write a few tests. Let's write one for marking a task as complete. So let's set up, we need a few things here. We could take most of this first setup. We could probably clean up these test files. Let's go over what's happening here. These are fake dependencies that get passed into our view model for the screen, so we can use. Honestly, I wonder if we should just like write this in. If instead of fake dependencies, we should write a full integration test here. That would be too easy. But would that be necessary? Because I think we would want to write a real integration test here. Um, okay. Sorry. Thinking out loud. What do our tests look like? I kind of want to write a real integration test here. So, so what we can do, we could write a Maestro test for this. Ooh, that could be fun. We could write this as a Maestro test. But I feel like I'd rather do it as like a compose UI test. I'm working through in my head how this is going to work. Um, let's call this task list integration test. Actually, do I even need that run with? I don't think I do. I didn't here. Um, Why? Um, so we can do this, which fires up our main activity. I do think, in hindsight, though, I think this still technically has a login screen that users would have to deal with. Let's find out. Let's just put a test, and let's say, like, you know, this would be like mark task as complete. This is what this test would do. Um, I want to run this and just see what comes up on the app here. That's way too fast. Oh, nothing is there yet. Are the tests failing for stupid reasons again? All right. What if we wrote a Maestro test for this instead? I feel like that would work better. Because we've already got some of the precedents for some of those. So Maestro test. Oh, so we do have a micro. Oh, we do have this already. If I do Maestro test, I think we already have. What's broken? God dang it. Ah, it's the keyboard getting in the way. How did we fix this last time? I did it on an emulator last time. Let's try that again. Maybe I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Maybe I don't want to go down this rabbit hole tonight. I think that's the real answer is I don't want to go down this testing rabbit hole tonight. We'll do that another night. Um, let's just make sure all the tests that we have now are still running. Holy dependency upgrades. I have like a magic trackpad that I use. Um, I didn't notice the scroll was that smooth, but yeah, I have not the like most recent, but yeah, I have a magic trackpad. I have this nice like hold on. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it in the dark, but I have this nice like what's the word for this thing? Like a case almost that combines the keyboard and trackpad into one so they stay together, which is super nice. Yeah, a holder. There you go. English was like hard for me. Uh, yeah. Um, I love this. I used to have one of these for my old contraption. Yeah, for my old MacBook setup as well with like the OG keyboards and stuff. But it's super nice. I don't use it in my lap even though I could. But it's really nice to just like have it all connected there. All right. Well, now I guess the question is, do we start going down another issue rabbit hole, or do we call it early? Um, I'm honestly down to kind of call it early tonight. It's been it's been a week for me. Um, and I have a wholesome, kind comment from my manager. I was just checking Slack notifications. Um, my manager is the best. I had to take care of some responsibilities today that had to wait later in the day because we have a lot of people on the West Coast time too. So I had to wait for that. So I was on work a little longer, and she just said, "You put in a really long day today, and it's noticed and appreciated." So wholesome. All right, why don't we just hang out and chat while these tests run, and then if the existing tests fail, we can fix them. But if they pass, maybe we'll call the stream early tonight. Sorry, I just have to respond to this message now. That made me so happy. How's everyone going? Anyone got any exciting, fun side projects or other stuff they're working on? Nothing. Oh, see, there we go. I'm just slow. I didn't give chat enough time to type. That's on me. Tackling a Mastodon app, one of the many people are building. That's still cool. Other race conditions. Benchmarks and baseline profiles on Wear OS. Do not recommend. Why don't you recommend? What have you been struggling with? Also, while y'all are typing, summer I got my first public contribution to Pocket League, which is pretty cool. Someone tweaked the team selection page to include the team logo on the left hand side. Previously, this was just text and a star icon, but they added the team logo on the left side. This was the initial screenshot. We tweaked around the sizing a little bit, but that was super cool. And they ran into a couple issues on the pull request that I should have predicted, but I was not used to people contributing to my project. So I made a little contributing guide that covers here's how you verify lint checks and if you need to update snapshot tests and stuff. But also, I relate Esker with not having motivation. Anytime I work on a side project that gets complicated, is when I start to lose motivation. So I started another side project where I could work on the simple, basic stuff again because I just want to write mundane, easy code. Um, but actually, let me show y'all. Let me show y'all what I was working on. So to quote my friend Ruben, you're not a developer if you haven't tried to remake Goodreads, right? Because we all know Goodreads is stuck in the 1990s and there's no good reading app out there. And so I was like, you know what? That's a good point. I kind of want to make an app around tracking my books and stuff, but also use it as an opportunity to learn new things. And I like making side projects and focusing on one very specific niched things sometimes. And so for me, I was like, I want to make another project and really play around with adaptive UI. So, never heard of Goodreads. Goodreads is Amazon's book tracking website that has not had a facelift in 30 years. And it's helpful and it's great, don't get me wrong. Functionally, everything is there. But it looks like a 1990s web page. And for that reason maybe it's not great, but anyway, so this little reader is meant to be my chance to tinker around with some more material 3 stuff and specifically adaptive design. So here we've got this list item that on a phone is 2 column width, but if I were to go into landscape here, a couple things. Now we're using a navigation rail, which is stuck on the left side, and the number of columns grows to fit a phone or fit the size better. And also, we go from having an icon in the toolbar to text. So we really take advantage of the shape of the device now and the fact that we have more space. And so this is using the cool resizable emulator. So if I were to bring this up to a tablet, we can see there as well that we get wider columns and based on portrait or landscape. Although I think on the tablet we're always wide enough to use the navigation rail and to use like settings text, but the number of columns again is sort of dynamic based on the size. Alone for the week with 2 toddlers, it's so hard to handle work, make sure kids are prepared for the next day food, happy, and still keep your mental health. I definitely understand that. I mean, I don't understand because I don't have 2 kids, but I definitely can empathize with feeling overwhelmed. I hope that you can find that time in the midst of all that to take care of yourself because that's really important, but definitely not easy. But yeah, so this is what I've been working on, and I think it would be cool to do a stream dedicated to this and this sort of what's the word for it? Adaptive design. So to show y'all just a separate thing related to adaptive design, so the inspiration from this, or a lot of what I've gotten, is from this sample app that Google put out there called Reply, which is not on this emulator for some reason. So never mind. Well, no, I can just open it really fast. Let's look at the Reply app. And I want to show what they do, which is pretty cool. Watching and interacting with you all is so refreshing. Oh, I really appreciate that. I'm glad that we could provide a little bit of calm and peace. I've heard that from other people that even people who aren't programmers who say that my streams are relaxing. And which is weird because let me tell you, I do not have an ASMR type voice or anything like that. But I can understand that the lo-fi music, having someone talk, just hanging out, not feeling like you're by yourself, I get that. I watch other coding streamers while I'm working. I have no idea what they're talking about or working on, but it's kind of nice to just have that extra voice. Also, cheers, tracks. Let's check on our pull request. Still running. I always sound calm. I try. I try. Don't always feel calm, but I've got 3 Windows of Android Studio running. But I want to show off this. So yeah, this is cool. Where's my... Do I need to close another one? Where'd the window go? Oh, it's this button. So this is really cool. This is from Google, a Google composed sample to show adaptive design. So they've got this nice, when you have, a decent amount of space, it goes to this navigation rail, and you still have one pane navigation. But if I were to go into landscape mode here, I get a permanent navigation bar that extends all the buttons, and I get 2-pane navigation, which is really cool. Or not, maybe not navigation, but I guess you get multiple panes here. And Android Studio just froze again. We are definitely not calm anymore. But yeah, I thought this sample app that they put together was really cool to showcase the different designs. And then if you're on a compact device like a phone, you have bottom navigation for all these things. And yeah, I just thought this was really cool. A really great example of Material 3 and what adaptive stuff. Any thoughts on the Google Paris event today? I did not watch it. What was the event? Was it Android related? I honestly am not familiar with it. Oh, well, I am out of the loop. I had no idea that there was a Google event today. Oh yeah, I did see. Someone told me about Android 14 Dev 1 preview. Um, Maybe we'll look at that next week or on Friday or something. But that's pretty cool. Now I didn't watch this, so I have no thoughts. Google is really going all in on the AI angle to everything, and I don't know how I feel about it personally. Um, is it hard making Android apps? It can be. Um, it's very subjective. It can be. It's like anything else. It could take a decent amount of learning, but it's something that I truly believe like anyone can do if they have the time and interest to do it. And also welcome Galaximos. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. Uh, it can be hard, but I don't think it's impossible. I think all programming is hard in its own way. But if it's something that actually interests you and you have the dedication for, I really think like anybody can do it. So, if you ever need help getting started, like if you're starting from scratch, like a lot of the Google guides are pretty good. Um, there's also websites out there like Udacity and stuff. Um, Tired Beaver, thank you for the follow. So, for Android apps, a lot of them are built using Android Studio. Unity is typically for game development. Uh, Rustling, Bestlang, understandable. Um, you can use Rust on Android now. I think I've seen some headlines about it. I've never tried it, but I do think that it's possible. Um, yeah, it's such a hard question. Like I appreciate the question about like is it hard, but it's such a complicated question. Um, Everything is hard when you've never done it before, right? Like that's kind of what I. Yes, I use Android Studio. Um, Everything is hard when you've never done it before. And that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, I don't think developing apps is hard, but I've been doing it for 8 years. So I totally understand that, like, I have a different perspective than I did 8 years ago, for sure. Yeah, I use Android Studio. My Android Studio just kept freezing on me, which is why I have it closed. Because we're probably going to wrap up the stream soon ish. I'm just waiting for the GitHub Actions to finish running on this pull request. Curse of Knowledge. Galaximos with the follow. Thank you both so much. We're growing. All right, let's. While we're waiting, why don't I see who is live that we may want to raid once this passes? Lando just went live. It'll probably be Lando that we raid. I don't see any other coding streamers I follow that are on right now. So I'll probably go say hi to Lando. I need to follow more other coding streamers so I can raid more of them. If Android development wouldn't exist from now on, what would you do instead? Hmm. Like, I guess the question would be if it stopped today, I would still want to write code. Um, I don't necessarily know what for, but I'd still want to write code. I think for some type of platform. Uh, You'd be writing Rust. All right, we got the Rustations invading chat. Welcome. I'm gonna need to add some pet the crab emotes to my repertoire. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's tough. Like, because it's tough if I were to think, like, well, if I weren't a programmer, what would I want to do? And I have no idea. Probably something not super related to technology. Honestly, one of my original career ideas was I wanted to be a teacher. Um, so what's really funny, sort of the thing that changed my entire career trajectory is I was in high school and I wanted to. I reached the 1 year subscription mark. I That's just how Twitch treats it. I don't know. Um, so in high school, I really wanted to be a math teacher because I loved math and I was really good at it. And I kind of always had this idea that I wanted to do some sort of like teaching education stuff. So I was like, ooh, being a math teacher would be cool. And then my high school math teacher was like, don't do that. And he was like, your skills are great. You should go look into how you can apply them. You should consider engineering. And then I took some engineering classes, and then I was like, holy shit, programming is super cool. And then I learned Android, and I've basically been like, ever since my first like dip into learning Android when I was in college, I've known that like this is what I want to do, which has been great. Not everyone is fortunate enough to have like to find something they're passionate about that they can make a full career out of. Um, yeah. Do I know any other languages? Not as well as I know Kotlin. Um, well, like I know Java and Kotlin, I would say equally well, even though I haven't used Java in years, I could still write it. Um, and my internship, I used C Sharp and C++ plus plus for different things. Let's hope we'll never need to find an answer to my question. Yeah. Um, Actually, now that I say that though, like teacher might be something. Like I'd love to educate and inspire people. Um, I think that would be cool. Um, Like, or if it was like, if I just couldn't be an Android developer, but Android still exists, then I would go join the DevRel team. That's what I would do. Oh, and our test failed, so I can't leave the stream right away. Um, Task list view model. We need to update our task list view model tests. So let's get Android Studio back up here. Ooh, do you think we can retire being Android devs, or will we eventually have to switch? That is a good question. One that I have asked myself before that I don't know the answer to. Um, I Would I go the management route? Not until I have to. That's my answer right now. Um, Not until I have to. And I don't like dock anyone who does. Um, but I still like writing code and contributing to products enough that I don't want to lose that. And I kind of understand that I shot up to like the senior rank really early in my career. And I understand that to not be a manager kind of means that my situation will stagnate for a while, but I've accepted that. Like, I love what I do every day. And like, this has been a conversation I've had with my manager. It's like, there are some things I'd like to do more of, but at the same time, like, I am perfectly content, like, with the day to day that I operate on right now. Um, I think like management would bring some cool stuff that like I would have more of a chance to help impact and grow people for sure, but at the cost of the day to day contributions that I get to make, right? Now, some companies, and even Twitch to an extent, have this like team lead sort of role where you kind of do a mix of coding and mentorship and helping others grow, and like that's the role I'm trying to get into. So like I've done several like lunch and learns and show and tells with my coworkers. I host like a weekly one-on-one with one of the younger teammates on my team, and helping them get better at the code they write. And like that's the kind of thing I love. It mixes both of those things while I still get to write and ship product to the Twitch app. So I'd consider management one day, but not in the near future. And also thank you, Meanser. I appreciate that. Android Z is right around the corner. What will we do after? Oh, right. So I never finished that question because I got distracted. I think that I think that it's plausible to say that like Android might be my only career, and that like by the time I retire, I will still be working in the Android space. What that looks like, I don't know. But Android as an operating system has such a strong hold on so many different platforms and form factors and things like that that like I don't think it's going anywhere. Um, but you know, who knows? Maybe the future of mobile does look different. Maybe fuchsia becomes a thing and we don't call it Android, but like I think I will retire wanting to work on mobile operating systems. Like that's the answer. Whether or not it's called Android or is the Android we know today, I can't predict the future. But like I think that like I will retire as like a mobile software engineering specialist of sorts. Task list view about a robot. That's what we need to update. So let's go into there. Um, we just need to tweak this now that our view model structure has changed. So um, we'll just do the first or null alert message. We'll give this an ID, but that does mean we need to tweak the test where this is used. Um, how do I get? We're gonna put that inside a list, um, and then we're gonna run a Gradle test and see if that fixes everything. Um, what's the best way to learn Kotlin for a complete noob? I have an answer to this. What's Chat? Help me out. What's that Kotlin? What are they called? Kotlin cones? Yeah, these are cool. This is a cool series of exercise. It says designed primarily for Java developers, but anyone who has a little experience programming can kind of follow, where it walks you through the Kotlin syntax from both simple to complex things, and it's a pretty cool walkthrough. And you can do them online right in the Kotlin editor, or like the playground editor, which is really cool. So it'll be like, how do you write a function that returns the string okay? And you can like show the answer or you can like fill it out yourself. And it goes all the way from introduction to like builder functions and generics. So highly recommend this. Yeah, it's a fun, neat little thing to learn. Um, I'm also excited to see what mobile means in like 10 to 20 years. Okay, test failed because Betty, thank you for the follow. Um, so I think, hmm, um, I think the issue is that this, I understand why this test is failing, but it's hard to explain. So, or do I understand why it's failing? I do. So, when we when we create an alert message inside of our view model, if we look at the alert message class, it has an ID that's randomly generated, right? And that's all fun, but then in our tests, we don't have any way to figure out what is the alert message of um you know what I mean, what is the ID of the alert message. So actually I wonder if we could do something like this. What if I did this another way? um what if when this is called we just say look up and dismiss first alert message ID. So we do something like view model, and then we do that. Let's see what that does. And that might just fix this issue where what our tests are trying to do is it's trying to say, hey, the alert message has been shown, but we don't have the ID. But now it looks like we do. I also fixed my race condition. Let's see if I can prove it now. Continue with the UI of the main screen. Let's go. That sounds exciting. All right, fixing unit test. All right, and the unit tests are passed. The UI test might fail. If they do, I'll deal with that off stream. But I think I'm going to call it and take the doggo out for his last break, and then we'll be back. So let's get. All right, let's see if Lando's actually alive now. Um, just making sure. Yeah, we'll go raid Lando. So let me get that going. And yep. So why don't we go let Lando know it is Wednesday, my dudes. Um, and wait, I didn't mean to use on raid. God dang it. All right, I will see all of you on Friday. I'm still planning to go live Friday afternoon. We'll probably work on the TOA app again, maybe Pocket League. Tend to do Pocket League on Fridays, but we'll probably work on TOA on Friday. And yeah, I will see all of you then. So um, have a great week, everyone. Bye.